We had 9 different guys catch a ball tonight. I mean, like that's every game I'm looking at. It's 9 to 8 guys catching a ball tonight. So it's hard for one guy to kind of dominate a game. But MVS had a really good game. He was 6 for 90 tonight on 8 targets. Juju, I mean, yeah, he's not giving the big numbers I think a lot of people thought. I think somebody said here, I think I'd rather have Mark Boerger right now over Juju. What do you think about JD? You like that?
Over Juju? You're talking about 2 good receivers, man. Look, and I'm gonna say this. We knew this. We knew that the group collectively was going to be a good group. We knew it was going to just be one guy that's going to just kill you. That's not what this thing was going to turn out to. I didn't expect that. I expected, MVS, okay, Juju, Hardman, all these guys are going to hit you over the head. And we still, tight ends, I mean, you still got Travis Kelce, man. I mean, shoot, come on now. That's going to be your number 1 receiver. We knew what that was going to be. And so, when you got a guy, a gunslinger in the back, and you have this type of offense, multiple guys are going to get the ball. That's just what it is. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I play fantasy. I didn't take none of these guys in the draft in my fantasy. I didn't take them because I knew they were going to have like just, monster numbers, astronomical numbers. I just knew that.
Yeah.
It was going to be spread and peppered around like it should be, right? And they do a great job of doing that. And so, somebody said, the wide receiver didn't score. Well, Travis got 4 touchdowns. We scoring points. Be happy with that. I don't care who scores. I don't give a daggone if you give it to, I don't know who. The kicker. All right, you let him score. Hey, we scoring points. We're getting wins. That's what matters. And so as long as those guys contribute, they might not contribute with having 5 for 120, okay? But you may have 3 for, 40 yards, whatever it may be. And another guy might have it 2 for 26, 4 for this. I'm fine with that. Moving the football and you win football games. That's all that matters, okay? The W's and actually moving forward, okay? So, I'm not looking for Juju to get 120 catches this year. Hey, if he ends up with 60, fine. And MVS got 45 and, Hardman's got 42 and, all of that's what I'm looking for. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Collectively, this should be a good year. Yeah. With all the guys getting in touch with it.
I'll say this, and it might sound like a cop-out, but I genuinely believe it's like this. I think the Chiefs view their wide receiving depth chart a lot like a lot of teams view their running back depth chart, where it's a running back by committee. I think it's a wide receiver by committee. And I think that's why Patrick Mahomes prefaced the season by saying that. I think he meant that 100%. And I do believe we get caught up in 2 things, in particular in Kansas City. We get caught up in fantasy, like JD says. People want to see the fantasy football numbers each and every week because it's what we've become accustomed to. It's what we know. We love seeing the Justin Jefferson stats. We love seeing the guys that are putting up 1,700 yards a season. That's not the reality here in Kansas City. And furthermore, for the last, since 2016 all the way to 2021, Kansas City had a game-breaking Hall of Fame receiver in Tyreek Hill that put up those numbers on a normal basis. That guy's no longer here. So this offense had to adjust on the fly. And I think the guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS are doing the right things at the right times. And furthermore, man, we got to give Patrick a lot of credit here because I believe this is the 4th time in 5 games that he's gotten a reception to 9 different receivers in a game. Yeah. I believe this is the 4th time in 5 games. That's insanely effective. That's insanely efficient. And quite frankly, that creates a massive headache for defensive coordinators. Imagine being a defensive coordinator on a week, having a game plan for Patrick Mahomes, period, but knowing that you have no idea who he's going to beat you with. You just know that he's going to beat you eventually. You just got to try to figure out a way to let him beat you less. And with Travis Kelce having, I think it was like 7 or 8 receptions for less than 30 yards, but it still had 4 touchdowns, that just tells you how wild this offense is, man. It's just such a weird collection of talents and opportunities they put together. And if people talk about how everybody wants to be the Patriots dynasty, well, people also have to remember the first 3 championships the Patriots won. They had guys like Troy Brown and Deion Branch as their receivers. It wasn't like they had guys out there that were getting 1,500 yards a season. Tom Brady was making situational plays, situational throws, and their defense was making big plays, and they won Super Bowls that way. Patrick Mahomes is clearly better than what Tom Brady was the first 7 to 8 years that he was in his career. And these receivers are better than Troy Brown and Deion Branch. No offense to him, but that's just the facts. So they're in a much better position than they were even back then, and you saw the Super Bowl results are there. This team is going to be just fine, man. I hope people don't use this game as some worry, because MVS, man, for the second straight week has made some big baller plays, and him and Patrick Mahomes have connected. Juju, I still think he's on the come up. I think he's still dealing with that knee and shoulder injury. Don't want to make excuses for him because he's got to bring that ball down when he went up with one hand. I want to see him make those types of plays, but Juju's a long-term type of guy. You're going to see in week 13, 15, and in the playoffs, he's going to make some big plays for this team because he's too damn talented, and Patrick Mahomes likes him too much, and quite frankly, Andy Reid likes him too much because 2 years ago, he's sending him pictures of the Lombardi Trophy. You know they got plans for this guy. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. And I would say this. Deion Branch and Troy Brown were good receivers.
Hell yeah.
They were good. They were good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, everything you say, I agree with you 100% on that. I do. I like that, wide receiver by committee. No doubt about it. That's a wonderful way of saying it, truly.
Last question before we go, just kind of talk about the receivers aspect. And this is something since we started the Chief Concern show, we've always talked about in the offseason when receivers come, like we don't sign and they end up signing elsewhere. We're like, why are they signing with us? What is that? Are we seeing now? I mean, obviously at the time we had Tyreek for the last, for the majority of the show. But are we seeing now the reason why receivers aren't signing with us? Because, like, let's say they sign a 1-year deal, like Juju, for example, he signs a 1-year deal. His numbers aren't going to be big time. I mean, the numbers that he's going to get this year won't be indicative to the contract he's going to want in the offseason. You know what I mean? Like, he won't be getting big time numbers after this season. So, I mean, let's say 65 catches, 800 yards. And I think that might be on the high side. Well, let's say that's a number. He's not going to get big time money from elsewhere. I mean, do you think that's a reason why the players, big time receivers, weren't coming to us and signing with us? And obviously using us as leverage, like, I'm thinking about going with the Chiefs, but they actually weren't going to come to us. They're just throwing our name in there.
I mean, I think coaches evaluate you on what you do on the field, right? Even if you catch 65 balls, if you're open and they know you're still a good receiver, you still get money, right? I mean, you can't use it against you, but like, look, man, you know what type of system I was in, what type of offense, right? So when you know you have, like you said, wide receiver by committee, you got, 5 other guys that's catching the football because that's what we do offensively in our system. You can't take it away from me because I'm still a good receiver. And I do believe that, like you said, that the Juju's still nursing a little bit of, little nicks and things up, right? It always seems like every week he's sitting out or something happened and like, he's not over, that just all these little nagging things. He's just not over it just yet. He's not fully healthy. And sometimes when they're looking for it, like, okay, later on in the week, let's get him going, get his reps up a little bit more, get him ready for the game. He'll show up. There's no doubt about it. Look, I have no problem with Juju because I know he'll show up when you least expect it. He's going to be there for you. I don't have any question about Juju and his ability whatsoever. I just don't. And like you said, with 9 receivers and 4 games, that's phenomenal. I mean, even just thinking about something like that, I mean, it really is. But, in the future, these guys worrying about contracts and stuff like that, hey, you know what? If you're doing that, you're on the wrong team. You are. Yeah. We're here to win games. We're here to win championships, right? And when you win championship, everybody wins, okay? There's a lot to go around from that point on. And so we'll just see it. Coaches evaluate it. Scouts evaluate it. What you did with the system, within the system and within the game, how it looks. And I'll say this, because I was thinking about a team. Now, I'm not saying we're not this team, but it's like when you have Mark Andrews throwing the ball to him. He's the number 1 receiver in the Ravens, right? He's getting the ball more than anybody else. Duvernay's starting to step up. But that's why these guys wasn't really playing out there with the Ravens either. Now, not just because, Lamar's not throwing the football that many times in the game, but also, too, you didn't have like the elite wide receivers because you knew it was going to be pass happy to Andrews. That's why they had 2 or 3 different tight ends. They was running with Hurst. I forget Boyle or whatever his name was, I think was there too. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not saying that they're the Ravens like that, but I'm just saying when you're spreading out, that's what it's going to look like because we're a tight end heavy game as we should be. He's the number 1 tight end in the league for a reason. You're supposed to feed this guy, I'm putting my hat, I'm hanging it on him. I'm hanging it on 87. I'm giving it to him. So,
Yeah, to answer your question directly, Marcus, when it comes to receivers maybe not wanting to come here to Kansas City, I think there's a lot of context to it. If you look at the league right now, wide receivers are cashing out, man. I mean, you're seeing guys going to teams. It doesn't even matter what the structure of that team is. These guys are out there making bank, and you know, God bless them for it, man, because these guys are going out there getting generational wealth for their skills and what they can bring to a team. And I could not be happier for these men to give their families that opportunity that most of these guys probably did not have growing up, and their families didn't before them. So it's really good to see. But here's the thing about Kansas City, man, is that you see a team like the Chiefs have success like that. It's naturally an attractive place. The thing about the Chiefs, though, is they've made it very evident that with the Tyreek Hill situation in particular, like, look, we're willing to pay somebody. We're willing to pay you $25, $26 million a year. Like, the Chiefs were definitely in the market to pay big bucks. But when he wanted to extend that and add to it after the Devontae Adams trade to the Raiders, the Chiefs had to eventually say, look, we have to hold a standard here. Because we're looking at this down the road. We're looking at this for future free agents where if they see us just let Tyreek run all over us and we just concede to everything and all his demands, they're going to try to do the exact same thing. So that's why the Chiefs had to standardize and say, look, not only are we confident that we can standardize this is going to work, we have a quarterback in the prime of his powers, the peak of his powers, that can find a way to win and put up historic numbers with guys that we're just talking about called a wide receiver by committee. And it's working. It's working. So although, yes, the Chiefs probably will never be in that market of where they're trying to outbid teams for other wide receivers, that is okay with us because it's working the other way around. But I still believe you're going to see stud receivers here throughout the duration of Patrick Mahomes' career because the Chiefs do want to give him talent, but you're just not going to see them go out there and overspend or overshoot their shot on a guy even like Odell Beckham Jr., who would be a great addition, but he's going to want to get paid too because he has the Super Bowl tax on his resume now. And so he's going to want to get paid somewhere, and he's only 29, 30 years old. That's just out of the Chiefs' market. It's too rich for their taste, too rich for their blood. I think the Chiefs know what they're doing. They have a vision. They have a goal in mind because they've waited their entire franchise's history for a special quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, building around him, giving him the assets. It starts with the offensive line, quite frankly. You build him a great offensive line, give him time to pick apart a defense. It almost doesn't matter. I know it sounds arrogant, but it almost doesn't matter who he has out there because as we're seeing, again, 4 of the last 5 weeks to start the season, he's hit 9 different receivers, and it's working. The Chiefs are the best team in my eyes in the AFC until proven different, and it's because of the fact, and it's no drop-off from losing Tyreek to having Tyreek. It doesn't matter. It might look different, but it's still just as effective, man. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Style points can go out the window as far as I care.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get podcasts.